Yes, sir. It's visible now, sir.
Okay, so now you can see the other slides also. So it
Yes,
is
sir.
changing.
Slides are moving, sir.
Okay, so thanks. Okay, so actually I have talked about my outline although. So this is the outline of my today's presentation. Okay, so let's move to the introduction part. Okay, directly. Good. So what are dielectric elastomers? So I can say that it consists of a polymeric film. Okay, so this you can consider as a elastomer or a polymeric film which is sandwiched between the two electrodes. Okay, so these are the two electrodes on the top and bottom of this elastomer. Okay, so now you can see my pointer. Okay. Okay, so next.
Yes,
Okay,
sir. Yes, sir.
okay, so this is a elastomeric film. Okay, so what happens if we apply a potential difference through these electrodes, that is black in color, you can say what happens. The positive charge will accumulate on one surface and the negative charge will accumulate on the other surface, and it will create a electrostatic force, or you can say that Coulomb force. Okay, and because of that electrostatic force, what will happen? So this elastomer film will reduce its thickness, and it will expand laterally. Okay, you can see. So initial, let's say you can consider that it is having the thickness h, and after that it is going to reduce. Okay, let's say I'm plotting it as a small s. However, due to the characteristics of the such elastomers of that characteristic is a incompressibility. Okay, so the volume of this elastomer will remain constants, and what will happen, it will also expand accordingly in the lateral directions. Okay, so you can observe from here. Okay, so initially, okay, this was the block and it is expanding laterally, and it is reducing its thickness. Okay, so it is also of visible from the this schematic. Okay, so next, so other one showcase the actual specimen, or you can say that the actual configuration of a dielectric elastomer actuator. Okay, so here this black color is a carbon grease, which you can say that compliant electrode, and this white color one is a elastomeric film. And these are the connections for application of the potential difference, and you can see that it is going to expand. Okay, so it is going to expand laterally and it will be reducing its thickness. Okay, so when we talk about the characteristics, or why these kind of elastomers or actuators are different from the traditional actuators, that is because of their characteristics. Okay, so what are the characteristics of such elastomers or such actuators is that these are soft in nature. Okay, and these are lightweight and flexible. Okay, and this will also undergo large deformation. You can see, if we talk about rigid actuator, or you can say that the actuator made up of hard materials, so we cannot obtain such kind of the deformation level. Okay, so we can observe like a muscle like deformation for such kind of materials. Okay, and although the cost of such actuators is not too high. Okay, so these are very cheap. Okay, so and because of these characteristics, these kind of materials or elastomers have replaced or replacing such hard machine with the soft machines. Okay, bio-inspired soft machine. If we talk about this one, so it's a robot, and you can say that we can utilize it for, let's say, for the gripping something. Okay, if you want to obtain the bio-inspired such kind of deformation, it will require lots of links. Okay, and the control will be like a challenging to, in order to get such kind of deformations. However, if we talk about such kind of a dielectric elastomer, single layer can undergo or can mimic such kind of deformation, or the 63-degree deformation. Okay, so and it can be utilized for the gripping. Okay, so like an elephant trunk, we can, so it is, you can say that it is mimicking the motion of an elephant trunk. Okay, so what this kind of such kind of deformation cannot be obtained if we use hard machines. Okay, so it is consisting of a rigid links. Similarly, some other application, if we talk about, that is a tunable lenses. Okay, if we talk about a lens, so that is made up of hard material, and you will be having, or what I can say, that if we talk about a hard lens, so it will be having fixed focal length. Okay, so you cannot change the focal length of a what I can say, that of a lens made up of a rigid material or hard material, not rigid. Okay, so however, if a lens is made up of such kind of elastomers, what we can say, so we can change the focal length of such lenses. Okay, so by applying the potential difference, some similar to like this, we can change the focal length of the lens. Okay, so one object or the one lens can give you the n number of focal lengths. Okay, similar, but if it is made up of hard material, so you cannot obtain such kind of advantage. Okay, so next is another application of such materials you can find out in the biomimetic applications. Okay, so here you can, so this is a object made up of a dielectric elastomers, and you can see that it is mimicking the facial expressions of a human. Okay, so you can see, you can observe from here. So these are some potential application, and if we talk about the composite, so I will also I will discuss about the application of the composite based on such materials or the soft elastomers. Okay, so when we talk about the modeling part, okay, so these materials exhibits the non-linear material properties. It means that the stress strain, you can say that stress strain relationship is not linear. Okay, so for if you talk about Hooke's law, so the stress strain relationship is linear. Okay, but if we talk about such kind of material in the within the elastic limit, if you talk about, so such relationship is not linear. Okay, so these are non-linear material. And another thing that you can observe, that this problem involves the two physics. Okay, so it involves the electrical side as well as the mechanical side. Okay, so you are going to deform such object by application of the potential difference, not by the application of mechanical force. Okay, so this is another challenge in order to model such kind of materials. Third, you can see from here, during their operations, such materials also exhibit the failure via, I can say that, by the wrinkling. Okay, so you can observe such kind of deformations or wrinkling phenomena in such materials. Another limitation is that it can also fail by a dielectric breakdown. Okay, so the dielectric breakdown is also a restriction for the application of such materials. Okay, and another thing is required in order to actuate such materials by electric voltage or the potential difference. So it will require the a high voltage. Okay, so for example, if you want to obtain such levels of deformation, so it will be around 5 or 6 kV. Okay, kilovolt is required, so a high voltage amplifier is required in order to actuate such kind of elastomers. Okay, so I can say that effective and reliable design of dielectric elastomer will require a computational model. Okay, and if that should be efficient and will be able to capture such phenomena, that is nonlinear material properties, electromechanical coupling, and also such kind of failure phenomena. Okay. So to start with, we will be talking about uh, a simple model. Okay, so we will start with the actuator that undergo homogeneous deformation. Okay, so that I will talk about first of all. Okay, so here we have a elastomer. So initial, let's say the length and the dimensions of this actuator are 2L, 2L, 2H, and let's say 2L. Okay, so and when we apply, let's say a mechanical load in this direction. Okay, so if you are going to apply a traction force in this direction, and also the potential difference, okay, along the thickness direction, so what will happen? It will undergo deformation, what I have already told you, and it will be expanding in the lateral direction and the contracting in the thickness direction. Okay, so and let's say in the deformed configuration, the dimensions are, let's say, 2 lambda 1L, 2 lambda 2L, and the 2 lambda 3H. Okay, so these are the dimension. Okay, so one thing that I told you, that such materials are volume preserving, means that the volume will remain constant. Okay, so volume of this in the undeformed configuration and this in the deformed configuration will remain same. Okay, so we can establish a relationship between these parameter that we have selected, that lambda 1, lambda 2, and lambda 3. Okay, so now tell me, so we can say that the volume of this element in the undeformed configuration, when there is no external force, in that case this volume is nothing but 2L, sorry, so 2L times 2L times 2H. Okay, 2L times 2S, that is nothing but 8HL square. Okay, so that is the volume in the undeformed configuration. When it undergo deformation in this configuration, I can say that the volume is nothing but 8. If you multiply the dimension, that is 8 lambda 1, lambda 2, lambda 3, L square H. And I say that such kind of materials have and these are incompressible materials, so volume will remain same. So it means that if you equate this, or we equate the volume in both the configuration V2, and if we represent it as a V1, so we will be obtaining that the multiplication of lambda 1, lambda 2, and lambda 3 will be 1. Okay, so that we can obtain from here. Now another thing is that how we can relate what I can say, the coordinate, if we talk about a point here and the point here. Okay, so one point, let's say X in the undeformed configuration, and the same point after deformation, let's say it become X. Okay, so the coordinate, let's say, become X. Okay, so how we can relate these coordinate system, both undeformed and deformed configuration system, so that is depicted here. Okay, so we can say that these are the x1 represent the coordinate in the x coordinate. You can say that x2 is a y coordinate and x3 is a z coordinate, if you depict your coordinate system by x, y, z. Okay, so and this will be the relationship, and you can check. Okay, so for example, if we talk about this point, what is the coordinate? If we talk about of this point, let's say x coordinate, if we talk about, that is nothing but 2L. And if you insert the 2L here, so it will become x1 will become 2L times lambda 1. Okay, so you can check, we have written that here 2L lambda 1 will be the dimension. Okay, so you can also check. Okay, so that is not 2L lambda 1, so that is actually L lambda 1. Okay, so that is L, so this will be L lambda 1. Okay, we can obtain the coordinates. So this will be L lambda 1 and this will be minus L lambda 1. So the total length will be 2L times lambda. Okay, so these are the relationship, you can say, between the undeformed and deformed configuration system. So similarly, now the question arises, what will be the, if we apply a 5 voltage, what will be the deformed state? Okay, what will be the actuation level? What is the relationship between the input and the output? Okay, so here the input, you can say that the voltage is a input, and the I can say that the deformation, that is lambda 1 and lambda 2, is the outcome. Okay, so in order to obtain the relationship, what we will use, we will be utilizing the principle of minimization of potential energy. Okay, it is same what we do for example, a spring system. Okay, so that I will discuss. Okay, so then it will be easy to correlate. Okay, so just a minute. Okay, so just a minute, I will erase and then I will discuss. Okay, so I'm not audible.
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir. Please continue.
Okay. Okay, so for example, if we consider a spring mass system, okay, so how we derive the relationship between the force and the corresponding displacement. What we did, for example, if you consider, let's say this is a spring, and let's say the spring constant is given K, and it is fixed here. Okay, so if you apply a force at the end, let's say if you apply a force F, and the corresponding deformation of this end, you can say that it is U. Okay, so now we can relate we have the relationship between the F and U, that F is equal to KU. But so now we will see how we derive that relationship. Okay, so what we do, or what I can say that how we derive that relationship by using the principle of minimization of potential energy. Okay, so for that, if we talk about the strain energy, so strain energy for this spring will be nothing but half of Ku square. Okay, so that is the strain energy. If we talk about strain energy, and if we talk about the work potential or work done by this force F, will be nothing but minus F times U. Okay, so that is external force, or that external work done. So then if somebody want to write total potential energy, that will be nothing but the strain energy plus the work potential. Okay, so that will be nothing but, so if we talk about a potential energy, so that will be half of Ku square minus Fu. Now you can utilize the principle of minimization of potential energy. So you can take the derivative of U with respect to small u. So you will be obtaining the relationship, that is F is equal to Ku. Okay, so this will be the relationship between the applied force and the corresponding deformation. Similarly, here we will be relating the applied potential difference with the deformation. So how we will obtain? So first of all, we will be writing the strain energy. Okay, so the strain energy associated with this system or the elastomer is like this. Okay, so this is the expression for the strain energy, total strain energy. So this function is nothing but the strain energy density. If we multiply it by the volume of the system, that is nothing but 8L square H. So we can obtain the strain energy, where mu is a material constant, and lambda 1 and lambda 2 and lambda 3 we have replaced by utilizing this relationship. Okay, so lambda 3 is nothing but 1 upon lambda 1 lambda 2, because we have the relationship lambda 1 lambda 2 and lambda 3 is equal to 1. Okay, so by using this expression we can obtain lambda 3 as a 1 upon lambda 1 lambda 2. Okay, so next, so this is the strain energy. Okay, so now the something is that external work or that work potential. Okay, so that will be the work done by the mechanical forces that is applied to pre-stress the material, or the, okay, so that will be we can write like this. Okay, so and the third term, that is the work done by the this applied potential difference. Okay, so you know that that will be minus half cv square. Okay, so and c is nothing but epsilon naught a by d. So similarly we can write the expression for the work done by the what I can say that the potential difference. Okay, so these are the work potential. Okay, so similarly here we wrote that U is equal to strain energy plus work potential. Similarly we have added we have written here. Okay, so this is a strain energy plus work potential. This is work done by mechanical forces and work done by the electrical forces. Okay, so once we have the strain energy, what we can do, we can have the equilibrium equations. Okay, so these equilibrium equations are nothing but the relationship between the external forces and the deformation. Okay, however, such okay, so this is how we can obtain by utilizing these relationship, how we can obtain the relationship between phi as a function of lambda 1 and lambda 2. Okay, so in order to solve those equation, two equation will require. Okay, as we have two unknowns, that is lambda 1 and lambda 2, so there will be two equations. One we will be obtaining by differentiating u with respect to lambda 1 and equating it equal to 0, and another one we will obtain when we differentiate u with respect to lambda 2 equal to 0. Okay, so this is how we can obtain the response of the actuator or the actuation behavior of such kind of material. Okay, so that will be non-linear. If we plot phi as a function of lambda, so that will be a non-linear. Okay, so that we can say that a non-linear wave. Okay, so next, so that we will see. Okay, so next is the next is the about the failure. Okay, so what happens at a particular point? So what I called is as a pull-in instability or the electromechanical instability. Okay, so what is happening? So if you are going to apply a potential difference, so you know that the thickness is reducing. There will be a point where there will be an unbalance between the external force and the internal force, and or we can say that the body is not able to resist the applied external force. Okay, so that point we called as an instability point, and that we obtain by applying the condition of the instability. Okay, so we know that a system when we called as a stable system and when we called as a unstable system. Okay, and there is a condition in between those stability and instability or the unstable system, that is a critical point. Okay, so that we obtain by this condition. Okay, you have already so we already know that. Okay, so if we talk about a maximum minimum problem, okay, so the potential energy will be minimum when the second derivative, okay, this Hessian is a negative. Okay, and then in that case the system is in the stable position. When the second derivative or that Hessian is not is a positive, then the system is in the unstable state. Okay, so there will be a critical point when the system move from stable to unstable point. Okay, so that will be defining our threshold on the stable operations, and that we can obtain by equating this Hessian equal to 0. Okay, so and this parameter, what will be the critical deformation? Okay, so what will be the stable or deformation, and what is the maximum value of the voltage that we can apply on this system? So that we obtained here, and we can say that and this parameter actually depends on the mechanical applied mechanical pre-stress. Okay, so we are going to initially pre-stress this like a, uh, membrane, and then we are going to apply a potential difference, and we find out that if we apply the if we increases this initial pre-stress or initial mechanical pre-stressing load, so these ranges are going to increase, or we can say that we are going to obtain the higher level of deformations. Okay, and although the requirement of the potential field, or what I can say that the requirement of the voltage difference or the potential difference will reduce. Okay, so this is how we do the modeling of a homogeneously deforming dielectric elastomer actuator. Okay, so here the deformation, why it is homogeneous? Because the deformation of this point and this point are same in the thickness direction if we talk about. Okay, however, in actual practice or reality, this is not the case. Okay, so the homogeneous deformation applications are we can say that it is not the case. This is an idealized case we can approximate in order to model a system. Okay, however, in actual practice, for example, this is a gripper, okay, 4-finger gripper. You can see that this material will undergo inhomogeneous deformation. The deformation at this point and this point are not same. Similarly, if we talk about a tunable lens, the deformation at this point and this point are not same, so that are different. So in order to model such such kind of actuators, or I can say that behavior, what is required is the a numerical scheme or the numerical method. So one of the method is a finite element method that I will discuss. Okay, so so by using the finite element method, what you can do, you can obtain the displacement field at any point. Okay, so and also the okay, so that approach I will tell you how we can model what is a how we can model such system that undergo an homogeneous deformation. Okay, and we can also model the what I can say that the localized okay, so this wrinkling phenomena you can see from here. Okay, so you can observe from here. In this case, you will be observing that it will undergo, this is a flow. Okay, so these are the wrinkling phenomena happening here, and here you can show in this first, you can show that it is going to fail. Okay, so we are going to apply increasing the potential difference, and at a certain point there will be a dielectric breakdown. Okay, so the system will fail. Now you cannot actuate. Okay, so if you are going to apply any potential difference, there will be no actuation. Okay, because we have a short circuit here, you can say. Okay, so these phenomena, the modeling of such phenomena will also require the a computationally efficient finite element method. Okay, so here this is the same case. The deformation at this point and this point are not same. Okay, so we can also capture by using the finite element method. We can also capture these points where from where it will undergo failure. Okay, what is the location where the dielectric breakdown will occur? Okay, and what will be the flow? Okay, so that we can have by using this method. Okay, so now I will talk about finite element method. Okay, so finite element method. Okay, so in order to so first of all, we will be defining some governing equations. Okay, so that governs the physics of such system. Okay, so such electromechanical system. Okay, so that it is a multi-physics problem. So first of all, we will be defining the kinematics. Okay, so that you know that the kinematics. Okay, so kinematics is nothing but the relationship between the strain and the, you can say that, primary variable, that is displacement. Okay, so for that we define a deformation gradient which maps a line element in the, let's say this is an undeformed configuration and this is the deformed configuration. Okay, if we consider a line element, let's say this is a line element in the undeformed configuration. So what will be the deformed shape of this element or line element in the deformed configuration? Okay, so that will be related by this quantity we called as a deformation grade. Okay, similarly, we define this electric field, that is a gradient of the potential difference. Okay, and also from here you can also see, okay, so here we are this body is subjected to mechanical load, that is we are going to apply a surface traction, and it is also subjected to a surface charge, or that you can say that electrical loading, and we can say that it is at the surface, it is also subjected to potential difference. Okay, and okay, so this is how we relate the a coordinate in the undeformed configuration to the a coordinate in the of a material point in the undeformed configuration. Okay, so and the other equations are, these are the mechanical domain equation, that governing equations, that has stress equilibrium equation. Okay, you know that how we uh, how we can have the stress equilibrium equation. Okay, so these are nothing but the stress equilibrium equations, and these are the boundary conditions. Okay, so here this is a traction applied, or this traction force on the boundary. This is the boundary where we are going to apply the traction force. This is how this is the boundary where we are going to pre-stress this, or we can say that we are going to define the displacement. Similarly, on the electrical side, if we talk about, so this is nothing but the Gauss law. Okay, so this is the governing equation, and where D is the electric displacement and Q is the charge density. Okay, and this is how, these are the boundary conditions where we apply some, let's say, or we define the surface charge, and or this is a boundary, let's say del beta naught phi, where we apply the potential difference. Okay, so these are some governing equations that is required in order to develop some finite element model. Okay, so these are the, you can say that the differential equations. Okay, so that will govern the deformation due to the application of the electric field or the electric potential difference. Okay, and I already told you, the already discussed that the relationship between the stress and strain. Okay, so you can consider this is a pk1 stress or nonlinear stress, and this is a deformations of the primary variables. Phi will define the deformation. You can consider it as equivalent to small strain in case of a small deformation. Okay, and this showcases the relationship between the or the constitutive relationship, you can say that the relationship between the stress and strains. Okay, so these are the governing equations or the strain form of the equations. Generally, what happens, in order to obtain, or in order to, in finite element, we requires the weak form or the integral form of the governing equations. Okay, so here these are the conversion of the corresponding equations. Okay, so this will be the equation or the integral form of this differential equation for the corresponding to mechanical domain, and this will be the equation corresponding to the electrical domain. Okay, so this is consisting the external work. Okay, so if we talk about a virtual work statement, so that will be consisting of that external work and the internal work. Okay, I will discuss about the corresponding equations later. Okay, so we can also utilize that variational formulation. Okay, so here this showcases the external work done. Okay, so external virtual work done. This is work done by the mechanical. This is the body force. This is the electrical forces. Okay. And the second thing is the internal forces or the internal work done, you can say. Okay, so that is written like this. Okay, so you can say that it is a like a strain energy or variation of the strain energy. And if we utilize the virtual work statement, and what we will obtain, the what we will be obtaining these equations, what I can say that the equation or the integral form of the governing equation corresponding to this mechanical domain equation, and this second equation will be corresponding to the electrical domain equation. Okay, so that is corresponding to Gauss law. Okay, so these are the like governing equations or the finite element equations, you can say. the elemental equations. Although these were the approximations we can these are the approximation that we can use. So here this is the how we can approximate displacement, and this is how we can approximate potential difference. For example, if we talk about a finite element, let's say this is an element, and here let's say you know the displacement of this node, let's say u1, u2, u3, u4. Okay, so what will be the approximation of this displacement field corresponding to this domain? Okay, so that is defined by this function. So u is nothing but, let's say, u1 n1 plus u2 n2 plus u3 n4 and u4 n4, where this n is only the function of x. You can insert the value of x here and you can obtain the displacement at this point. If you know the displacement at these corners, okay. So main thing is to evaluate the nodal displacement. Okay. So that is obtained by solving these nonlinear algebraic equations, or the finite element equations that we call it. Okay, so now the question arises, as these are the nonlinear equations, how we can solve. Okay, so these are, for example, here the unknowns are your, you can say that u1, u2 and u3. If we talk about a particular element, 2D elements, the unknowns are this displacement and the corresponding, let's say there will be another degree of freedom, that is the potential difference, or the voltage. Okay, what will be the potential field or the voltage field at that point? Let's say at this point is phi 1, at this point is phi 2, this point is phi 3, and this point is phi 4. And how we can evaluate what will be the potential at this point? Okay, what will be the phi value at this point? So that can also be evaluated by using such approximation. Okay, so now we can say that these are the nonlinear equations and how we can solve these equations. Okay, one of the method, you know, that how we can solve the nonlinear algebraic equation, that is the Newton-Raphson method. Okay, so that Newton-Raphson method, we already know. Okay, so how, so that I will explain. Okay, so Newton-Raphson method for solving a nonlinear algebraic equation. Okay, so that we can, so for example, so this is the first equation, that is where you can say that f is the unknown and another unknown is e, and second equation is there. Okay, so there you can say the two unknowns, two equations. F is one unknown and the e is the second unknown, that electric field. Once these are knowns, you can also calculate one f. When f and e are known, you can also have this u. Okay, so that the displacement and also the phi. Okay, so the question, so the corresponding, so one method that we generally use in order to solve the coupled field equation is a staggered approach. So what is staggered means, what we do, there are two equations, one is corresponding to mechanical domain, second equation is corresponding to electrical domain. What we do generally, from the first equation we obtain the, let's say, the primary variable, that is u. We can insert that u here and we can evaluate again phi here. Whatever phi comes from this, then we again insert that phi here and again evaluate u, and we iteratively solve this these nonlinear equations. Okay, so we are not collectively solving those equations, but what we do, we separately solve these equations in the staggered manner. Okay, so so this iterative process will continue until this residual is 0, until we can say that this equation is satisfied. Okay, so we will see. Okay, so this is, I have also depicted here. For example, the initial these are the initial values for u and phi, and by using first equation you can obtain the un plus n, phi will remain same. Then we can solve the second equation, we can obtain phi n plus 1. Again we will reach here, then again we will calculate u at the next step, and then again we will be evaluating phi by using the second equations. Okay, so in that manner we can solve such equations, non-linear equations. Okay, so the finite element method can be used in order to tackle the what I can say that the inhomogeneous problem. Okay, so as you know that we are going to, for example, if we are talking about this lens, so we are going to discretize it into small number of elements, and we can have the nodal values at any point. Once these, for example, if we talk about this element, if once we have the nodal displacements or the nodal potential difference, we can evaluate the value of phi or u over here. Okay, so this is how we solve the inhomogeneous problem, or by utilizing the finite element method. Okay, so now there are some other questions. Okay, so what will be the value of this p here? How you will obtain that p? Okay, for a particular material. So although you can have the value of shape functions, or this is an external one, but now question around how you can obtain the p. Okay, so the p, so in order to obtain the stresses, you should we will be having some constitutive relations. Okay, so that will be relating, you can say that stress to the strain, and then strain is related to the displacement. Similarly, electric displacement is related to the electric field, and electric field is related to phi. Okay, so that for that what we do, we will be requiring what I can say that strain energy density function, or the material model. Okay, so there are lots of material models which are generally used. Okay, so this is one of the simple model, the Neo-Hookean model, which can be used to model the elastomer or the polymer. And another model that also capture the strain stiffening. Okay, such polymers also exhibit strain stiffening at the higher strains. So so that can be captured by the such models. Okay, Neo-Hookean model, that Ghent model. Okay, so Neo-Hookean is simple model that does not capture the strain stiffening. Okay, so one more thing, that what is required. So okay, so how we can enforce the incompressibility constraint. Okay, so in the analytical model, that for the homogeneous case it was easy, because we know that lambda 1 multiplication of these three are 1. But in the numerical, how we can enforce that condition of a volume preserving? For that, what we do, we generally by utilizing the penalty method, we cannot exactly model the like a incompressibility, okay, numerically. Why? You know why that I will tell you. Because for if we talk about nu is equal to 0.5, okay, so that is Poisson's ratio. When is 0.5, the bulk modulus is infinite. Okay, so the other is infinite. Okay, it means that this strain energy function and the corresponding, what I can say that if we talk about the finite element equations. Okay, so here this will be, so there will be a term called K. Okay, so that bulk modulus will involve here. When this is infinite, for example, this term will become infinite, then the delta U will be 0. So there will be no deformation. Okay, so we cannot use that exact like a nu is equal to 0.5. What we do, we generally assume that these materials are nearly incompressible. We take that nu is equal to 0.4999, something like that. Okay, in that case, this term will not become infinite. Although there will be a numerical instability or that locking phenomena, we will not be getting what we require. Okay, so so in order to in order to like remove such instability or the what I can say that locking phenomena, what will happen? So what are the methods? So that is a one method called as a J-var method. Okay. So what we generally do. So earlier what I can say that this is a term. But I guess this is a term which are responsible for the volumetric strain. Okay. And this is the term for this is corresponding to the deviatoric strain or the. Okay. So what we do generally, we apply the method called J-var method, where we approximate this J-var instead of taking J. So we take J-var as a like this. We approximate like this. Okay. So and we assume that this volumetric part, this is a here. So this will depend on the volumetric part of the so J. What happens? What we can do? We can decompose this J into two parts. One corresponding to the deviatoric. What I can say that J deviatoric multiplied the J volumetric. We generally assume that this part is only dependent on J volume, not the J deviatoric. Okay. And then we can have this approximation or smoothing of the J function. And these are some other methods like what I can say that reduced integration method. There are lots of methods in order to remove the or elevating this locking phenomena. Okay, so that I will not go in detail other methods. Okay, so these are like now we can go for the like actual actuators and modeling of those actuators. Okay, and whether these models work for capturing the response of such actuators or not. Okay, these are capable or not. Okay, so here what actually so this is a case. Okay, so where we involves the this is the case where the deformation at this point and this point are not same. Okay, we have already seen such kind of configuration in the first slide. Okay, so what actually generally do in order to make such kind of specimen, or you can say that actuators, what we generally do, we take a thin film and we actually initially pre-stress to certain level and then we attach it to a rigid frame. Okay, so this is our actuator area. So this is, you can say that inactive area where there is a no potential difference, and this is the area, that black portion is the active area where we apply a potential difference. And when the potential difference is applied, so it will move in this direction and also reducing the thickness. Generally what people do, we capture the displacement of these faces. Okay, so it is going to what I can say that it is going to expand laterally. Okay, so these are some responses you can observe from here. So this is the applied voltage and the this is the location of the reflector, means this the what I can say that the it is capturing the displacement of this face. Okay, so this face, not the other face. Okay, so okay, so these are the responses for example when we have the okay, what actually what I did, we have also, this is also dependent on the area. Okay, so we can have the small black area, that active region, and also we can also have a large active area. Okay, so such actuation performance and the failure will also depend on the area, that active to inactive area. Okay, for different areas we have plotted these responses. Okay, and we will find out. Okay, so and we can say that our finite element model is able to capture these response or the nonlinear response of the actuator. Okay, so you can also observe that it is a nonlinear behavior. It is the relationship between phi and the displacement field is not linear. Okay, so that I told you that we have a nonlinear material response. Okay, so and this is also the here the lambda p is lambda p is the pre-stretch. How you like what will be the this lambda p value? Okay, so lambda p is nothing but the pre-stretch. What happens, for example, if we consider initially we take let's say this is the membrane of length L. Initially by applying mechanical, or what I can say that we just pre-stretch it to certain levels. Okay, then we attach it, or what I can say that then we fix it to its end by the help of this rigid frame. And then we are going to apply the potential difference. And what I say that it the response will also depend on the what is this initial pre-stretch, whether we are making it 2.5 times of the initial dimension, or whether we are making the, let's say, 2. So it will depend on these things. Okay, so these are the, what I can say that our finite this finite element framework that I discussed is able to capture such responses. Okay. Okay, so these things okay, so and why the, okay, so this is a, for example, for a particular case, and this is nothing but the response or the displacement profile. Okay, so the thickness displacement profile. And here you can say that the here the deformation level is different, and here the deformation level is different. Okay, so it is a case of inhomogeneous deformation. And you will find out, we find out that this is the region where we are getting the black portion, where we are having the maximum level of deformation. And we also observe that at the same location it is the location that is adjacent to the interface. Okay, this is the interface between the active and inactive region. Okay, so near, so this actuator generally fails via electric breakdown always near to this point. Okay, near to the boundary, or you can say that the boundary that separate active and inactive regions. Okay, and in the finite element we also observe, we also observe that the deformation levels are maximum near to the boundary. Okay, or we can say that this interface, and that correlates the higher the deformation, and this will be the point where the so you can say that short circuit will happen. Okay, first. Okay, so that will be the thinning area, or the location of the where uh, the, the membrane thickness will be less. Okay, so this is so we can by using such finite element model we can also capture the location of the failure also, but it is not possible for the model that I discussed earlier. Okay, so because here the deformation at each and every point we considered as the same, so we cannot identify the location. Okay, but if we utilize finite element method on such numerical scheme, we can also obtain the location of the breakdown. Okay, so now another thing is I will not go in detail because okay, so because I think that I will not have too much time. Okay, so another thing is what I will want to say is that such materials also exhibits time dependent material properties. Okay, what does it means? You can say that there exists a Cree phenomena. Okay, so the material properties, or what I can say, the material it exhibits the rate dependent material property. For example, these also exhibits the Cree phenomena, you can say that. Okay, for example, what I can say that if we consider this as a film, and if you apply a constant potential difference, okay, for example, this is a membrane, and if you are going to apply a potential difference phi, and if you keep that as a constant, okay, like we did the Curie phenomena for the case of mechanical creep. Okay, so you take some specimen and you keep that. If you apply a mechanical load and you can that load will be constant and you can observe that the
அப்பெல்லாம் வந்து
uh,
5 ஸ்டார் டைரி மில்க்லாம் லக்ஸரி. எங்க பெரியப்பா எப்போ பார்க்க வராரோ, பெரியம்மா பெரியப்பா வளர்த்தாங்க சொன்னார்ல, அந்த பெரியப்பா எப்போ யார் வீட்டுக்கு போனாலும் மல்லிப்பூ வாங்கிட்டு போவாரு. பிள்ளைங்களுக்கு 5 ஸ்டார் சாக்லேட். எங்களுக்கு
Atul sir?
yes, what
Yeah.
happened? So I'm audible or not?
Yeah, audible sir.
Okay, so similarly we also exhibit the creep phenomena. Okay, so if we apply a constant potential difference, so what will happen? So we will be having the time dependent the deformation. Okay, so if we plot u with respect to time, so we will be having this as a so it will continue to deform with respect to time. Okay, even we are not increasing the potential difference. Okay, for the constant potential difference, we can also exhibit the we can say that the time dependent response. Okay, so that we can say that these materials also exhibit the viscoelastic behavior that we call. Okay, so here these are some responses you can see. So for the material, for different materials with different parameters. Okay, so parameter with the eta is equal to less, that will settle to the equilibrium position suddenly, and those with a higher eta or viscosity parameter that will continue to deform and will take time to come to the equilibrium position. Okay, so this is how we can how the viscoelasticity affect the behavior of the elastomer. And here you can see that the loading rate dependency of the
அப்படியா?
loading mode. Okay, so for example, we can have the different loading rates. Okay, so this response can also be observed from here. So what happens if we have higher loading rate? So the
92 participants.
the critical electric field or the electric field at the failure will be high. If we have a lower loading rate, in that case we will be having what I can say that the higher voltage requirement, and also the critical electric field will be less, and the deformation level will also be higher for the case of the lower loading rate. Okay, so next these are some what I can say that the responses. Okay, so here you can observe this time dependent material behavior. Okay, so here you can observe. Okay, so the effect of like so this is showing the creep phenomena of the buckling pump actuator. Okay, and here you can see the actuator with the less eta parameter or the less viscosity will settle to the equilibrium position suddenly. However, with a higher will take time to reach the same level of deformation. Okay, here it is a like a pump or buckling pump made up of such kind of materials, and we can also find the application in term for the gripper case. Okay, so we can also made up of 4-finger gripper, and this showcase the deformations for such the grippers made up of such materials. Okay, so and you can observe from here the last deformation like the deformation like an elephant trunk can be obtained. Okay, if we utilize such kind of materials. Next I also quickly finish about the material anisotropy also. So what happens is one thing that I told you that sorry, something is just a minute, I think. Okay, so this is maybe the last slide. Okay, so another thing that I told you that actuation, in order to actuate such materials, or the actuator made up of such materials requires um, uh, require actually high voltage. Okay, so one method in order to reduce the requirement of high voltage is, we can say that the enforcing the, or what I can say that the material anisotropy. What we can do, we can also apply some stiffeners in one direction. Okay, so what we are going to do, we are inserting, you can say that, fibers, okay, soft fibers in particular direction. If we talk about, so this is a case of transverse, we can say that anisotropy we consider. Okay, so what will happen, this will be restricting the deformation in one direction, but this restriction will enhance the deformation in other direction. And also from here we can see, for example, this is the response of such actuator with the anisotropy in this direction, or what I can say that the material property in this direction are different in comparison of, you can say that, this one, this direction. So we can observe from here, for a particular value of, for example, applied fixed value of applied a potential difference, we will be getting large deformation. For example, if we talk about, let's say, 0.5 voltage. Okay, so this is a something which defines the voltage. So this is the case that black one is the homogeneous case, or the when they for the case of isotropic material, when there is no stiffeners. And for the same case, or these are the cases for the I can say that the anisotropic material. Okay, and we will have, for the same, for what I can say that okay, so we can say that the deformation for same fixed value of applied electric field, we will be having the large deformation in the anisotropic actuators, or the for the materials, or the anisotropic dielectric elastomer material. Okay, or you can also observe in the opposite sense, that in order to obtain the fixed value of the, or same level of deformation, the homogeneous one, or the actuator made up of homogeneous one, will require higher voltage. Okay, so this will be the case of higher voltage, and this, for example, if we pick up this one, so this will be the case of lower voltage, in order to obtain the same level of deformation. Okay, so this is how, so we can, what we can say that this anisotropy, or the enforcement of the fibers, will enhance the deformation level and will reduce the voltage requirement. Okay, and it showcases the favorable impact on the actuation performance. Okay, so, or what I can say that instead of requirement of 10 kilovolt, it will reduce, let's say, to the 7 kilovolt, in order to obtain the same level of actuation. Okay, so these are related to the modeling, finite element modeling of dielectric elastomers, and the behavior or dependency on the anisotropy. Okay, so I can also so I will not go through the detail how to model such composites, but I will also showcasing the one of the application of the dielectric elastomers composite. Okay, so I will talk about the that the periodic structure. Okay, so for example, if we consider that structure, if we talk about a 1D structure, okay, let's say if we repeat, for example, this is a part, or this is a portion made up of a material having properties, let's say, corresponding to, I'm depicting it by A. Let's say it is made up of if we talk about hard materials. Okay, so let's say this is made up of steel, and this is made up of, let's say, aluminum. Okay, so what happens, okay, if we repeat such units, and what happens if we pass a wave of particular frequency, there will be a range of frequency that cannot pass through such structures, such periodic structures. Okay, for example, let's say the range is, let's say, talk about 2 kilohertz to 4 kilohertz frequency waves cannot pass through such structures made up of steel and aluminum. Okay, for example, okay, so these steels and aluminums are, I can say that these are the hard materials. Okay, so that will be having a fixed range. Okay, so that will be 2 kilohertz to 4 kilohertz. But instead of this, if we replace these materials by a dielectric elastomer, such kind of materials, for example, this is, let's say, made up of let's say silicon rubber, and this is some other rubber. Okay, or we can say that silicon rubber with some material property whose material properties having some different are different. Okay, let's say this is a let's say for this case, let's say the shear modulus is 20 megapascal, or you can say that for this case you are having 40 megapascal. Okay, but these are soft materials. What we can do again, like we did for the lenses, we can have a multiple focal length. Similarly, what we can do by applying the potential difference through its let's say in this direction, we can also deform this. Okay, and when it undergo deformation, what will happen? This range will change. Let's say now for the phi is equal to, let's say, 5 kilovolts, we will be getting some different range. For phi is equal to, let's say, 10 kilovolts, we will be having different range. Means same structure can work as a we can say that can give us a different frequency range, or different frequency range of wave which cannot propagate through this structure. Okay, and such application, so such materials or such periodic structures finds applications in the frequency filters. We can made up of frequency filters, some isolator, noise suppressors. Okay, so here main thing is if we deal with the soft materials is the tunability. We can obtain the same material can give you a, what I can say that a different focal length if a lens is made up of such material. If we talk about the frequency filter, the same structure can give you a what I can say that if we talk about the frequency range of which wave cannot pass. Okay, so if we talk about elastic waves, so we can obtain the different frequency ranges, okay, from the same structures. Okay, so this I'm not going regarding the modeling part. Okay, here are, let's say, this is for the 2D materials having the fiber reinforcement. Okay, so this is also a fiber made up of soft material but different property. This is also other this is a matrix you can consider, and this is also soft material. And for such structures we can see the tunability. Okay, so this is the case so this will be the frequency range if we talk about. Okay, so for example, if we talk about, this will be the frequency range of, so let's say this is from, let's say, some point called, let's say, 1.3 to 1.4, okay, 4.5. And when we are not applying any potential difference, when we increase these potential difference, these ranges are also changing, or that we can obtain the tunability. Okay, so these can be observed from here. Okay, so these materials actually so this is another applications of such kind of material. Okay, so I will stop here. Okay, so if you have any question related to this, you can ask me. Okay, so I will stop here. Okay, thank you. Do you have any question?
Thank you very much, Atul sir. Participants, is there any query related to the modeling of this soft active materials? Atul sir, I think these materials are so much intelligent, and these can play an important role in the automation in industry 4.0.
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir. Actually, just like this grip,
Yeah,
it also
yeah.
can be used in the robotics arm.
Yeah. So robotics on that I showcase. Okay, I have shown you that there are potential application. For example, if we talk about, let's say, if we want to grip up fruit. Okay, if we are gripping a fruit from the hard material, that will be like that may damaged. But if we are using such kind of soft materials, that will take the shape of the fruit and that will not be damaging. Okay, so that will be another applications. Okay, so this actually such materials find application, lots of applications in the robotics area. Okay, that
Yes, sir.
robotics for making the robotic arms. Okay, so these are some of applications. Okay.
Yes, sir. Actually, sir, is this possible, or is there any database available to design this such kind of materials with the help of simulations also?
So you are talking about some machine learning or what? What else?
Yes, sir. Just like that.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, so that can be. So the pupils just started. Actually, this is a field. If we talk about modeling side, so the people have just starting to apply AI or all those things like machine learning in order to simulate such kind of actuators. So they are starting. Okay, but I am a computational person. I generally use such mathematics, okay, in order to model. Okay, so I have no expertise in that machine learning, all those. So do you have, so you works in that area, that machine learning or?
No, sir. No, sir. Actually, I am just asking for the to start working in such kind of areas to design the materials.
Okay. Yeah, so that is like a fruitful or that emerging area to implement those database like algorithms in order to simulate such kind of structures. Okay.
Any
Okay.
other participants? Any query from your side? The Binak Saab, sir? Sir, any query from your side? So, Atul, sir,
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Girish, sir.
I think I'm not able to
Girish
hear.
Joshi, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Any query, sir, related to the modeling of these soft active materials? Atul, sir, I think there is no query. So,
Okay, so
thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
Charan, again for inviting me for this program, and I am happy to deliver this talk at your institute. Okay, so thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you very much, sir. So, sir, sir, last moment, sir. Just a moment.
Yes.
All the participants are requested to just put on their webcams just to capture the picture for recording. So, all
Okay.
participants